I'm Joyce E. Let me first begin by saying thank you to the students of Samford University who took the time to read my book and was interested enough to ask me some questions. I'll take the next few minutes to try to answer as many questions that was submitted and as briefly as possible because I love to talk and I would just keep talking. So we'll waste no time. I'll go ahead and get started. First question that was submitted asked me about what helped me to stay positive and successful. Well, from a positive standpoint, I think naturally I'm a positive person. My name is Joyce, full of joy. But I count my blessings. And when you think about how blessed you are, like living in the United States, I mean, my goodness, how can you be depressed? You have so many liberties and freedoms. So I remind myself of what I have and what I don't have in order to stay positive. And successful is, to me, first I define successful as having peace and not being stressed. So that helps me in the standpoint of being successful. Some people define success by titles and money, and I did go through that phase, but now I recognize and realize peace of mind and living a joyous life and counting your blessings is how I define success. What is one way to best manage the spare time we have? In your spare time, you should take it as an opportunity to regroup, relax, rejuvenate. Also, in your spare time, after you take care of yourself, you should do something to take care of others. Time is limited. Don't waste it. Balance it. You know, I also wrote another book entitled Self-Inflicted Overload where I talk about work-life balance. So in your spare time, there are times that you use that time to rejuvenate, to work on yourself, but I also would recommend you use that time to focus on others. What would you suggest someone, what would you suggest someone do who has a loved one suffering from Alzheimer's? As you know or may not know, my father suffered from Alzheimer's, and it was very difficult. It is a very cruel disease, and at times I used to visit him at the nursing home. Before I would ever come into his room, I would say, it's not about me. It is about him, trying to make him feel as comfortable and reflect on those times that the person that you love wasn't sick. You know, just review the memories of the good times and know that it's out of your control in terms of his health or her health, and just make the best of the time that you have left with that individual. How were you able to get over the death of your husband? I wouldn't say necessarily get over. I would say when it comes to grief, you learn how to cope. You go through phases of grief. You know, there were moments of anger. There was moments of regret. There was moments of disbelief. But at the end of the day, I think what helped me to cope with his death better is because when I had breast cancer, we talked about life and enjoying every day. And I was preparing in my mind if I wasn't here, not knowing it would be him. So it's not a get over as much as it is to cope with and recognize that everything has a season, and we had a season together, and remember those good times that we had together and know that there's another chapter, because you all know how I feel. It ain't over. Okay, next question. How were you able to develop the formula presented in the second part of the book, It Ain't Over? The formula, O = R cubed divided by R. Opportunities equal reputation, resilience, relationships, and resurrection. I think the engineering side came out when I was writing this book. When I got to that part, you know, it would be great if things happen in life, you had a manual or a guide or a book or a formula. So that's how I developed a formula, you know. Those things, those 4 areas, if you focus on them: reputation, always recognizing your character counts; resilience, never giving up; relationships, who you associate with; and resurrection, knowing that there's always an opportunity for a comeback. Under those, if you keep those 4 things, opportunities will arise and you'll be able to see them. During the waiting game, what advice would you give to be able to wait patiently? Interesting question. The waiting game. I would say, again, enjoy the season that you're in. I didn't get married until I was 34. And I was thinking, oh, all my friends are married. All my friends are married. You know, not me. And I look back now that I'm single again, I'm going to enjoy this time because it will change again. You know, life is forever changing. So while you're patiently waiting, enjoy being with yourself. Do some things that you may not be able to do or want to do if you were in a relationship. Just recognize that the period and season that you're in can be fun. Yes, take yourself out to dinner. Yes, go to the movies by yourself. Yes, take a bubble bath and light all the candles and don't have to worry about someone knocking on the door saying when you're getting out. Okay. Next question. Looking back on your life, how do you feel life would be for you today if you didn't take back your control? I don't think I would be as content, happy, and stress-free that I am. When I think about when I worked in corporate America, how everything else was controlled by someone else, it was some stressful times. But now I recognize what's important, and I'm very thankful that I did take back control. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be happy. Is there anything you're currently working on overcoming in your life? I wouldn't necessarily use the word overcoming. I would say adjusting to. I'm adjusting to parenting alone, especially two sons in their teenage period in their life. That brings a whole nother level of opportunity to raise two young men. And so I'm trying to do the best I can with that. So that's my focus. I'm actually reading several parenting books right now in order to make sure I'm the best mother I can be for them. Reading your book, I can't help but think of the major impact you've had on other people, both men and women. How does that make you feel? Oh, that brings me so much joy. It makes me feel like my living is not in vain. People talk about legacy. People talk about what will you be remembered for. It's nice to know that there are times when I go out to a school and speak about opportunities and careers, and even little kids, you know, appreciate someone saying, encouraging them. So obviously I'm going on and on. It brings me great joy knowing that the words that I write have an influence and impact on someone else's joy and happiness. Next question. Unfortunately, your husband died before this book was published. True. Did he share with you times in his own life that he had to remind himself it ain't over? Yes, he did. One of, we used to talk about writing a book about him becoming a fire chief. When he was in high school or a young boy, he was at one of the fire stations in east part of Birmingham, and he said that he looked in the window and he was admiring the fire engine, and the firefighter who stepped out said something very ugly to him to make him run away from the window. Ironically, that same individual ended up reporting to him once he became a fireman, because he got promoted kind of quickly because he was very good and was very passionate about it. But he had to remind himself, even from that period, that it ain't over. And he was able to go from what they call a gray shirt all the way through the ranks, and in 2007 became the fire chief. So that's a classic example of never giving up. There was not a great deal mentioned about race or gender in your book. Many people would use that as a reason they did not get their big break. Were you purposely not using race or gender as an excuse for missing opportunities? No, it was not an intentional thing. As a female, black female, I have experienced times where I felt like I was overlooked, maybe as a result of those things, but I don't focus on them because that's their issue, their problem. I was created with these traits. It's not like you trade them in. I'm very proud of them. I'm created in God's image. But it wasn't an intentional lack of focus in the book on that. It still falls in the category, why you're going to focus on something you can't change. You celebrate it. You use it as an opportunity. You benefit from your own existence. What makes you special. I don't believe in excuses. You know, yes, there's always setbacks. If someone has a disability, someone may overlook you. If someone's from up north and you have the accent, people will judge you. But at the end of the day, I believe you take control and you have power over your own destiny. Yes, you might have some setbacks or delays as a result of others, but ultimately promotion comes from above. And I know who's on the throne. Oops, didn't mean to go to church on you, but that's just how I feel about it. Yes, it would be an excuse to say they overlooked me, but that's their issue. They're the one who missed out on not, you know, recognizing the talent and skills. And that just tells me there's another door that will open that's even better. The last question. You were an electrical engineer in a male-dominated field. Have you ever gone to high schools to speak to young girls about opportunities in the field of engineering? Yes, I have. I was president at one point of the National Society of Black Engineers. I was also a member of the Society of Women Engineers. And I participated in the ICANN engineering program. I speak to all students, but yes, even now, even though I haven't practiced engineering for a while, I'm still an engineer. I have my undergrad and master's in engineering. And yes, I love to go to schools, whether they're in the first grade or they're college students. If it's just my purpose, it is my nature to encourage people and help them to recognize that they have so much potential and there is so much opportunity. And if you wake up every morning with those 3 little words, it ain't over. Hey, it all works out. It's all good. As long as you got breath in your body, it ain't over. I thank you all so much. I hope this was helpful. I hope I didn't rattle and drag it out too much. But those are your questions. Those are my best answers, as transparent and honest as possible. And I hope that it helps you. And good luck with your class. I hope you pass.